Our work is an important part of our lives. Among other things, it allows us to provide for our families and gives us our standard of living. But what happens if illness means that we suddenly can't work? A recent report from the independent think tank Demos highlights the problems caused by long-term illness and the loss of work, which can often lead to a considerable downturn in living standards.
It was kind of a bit of a mystery. It was last summer. I was perfectly healthy as far as I thought, and just became very, very ill one weekend. I had a lot of pain in my leg and I had a sort of a swelling in my groin. I went to the doctors the next day because I felt pretty unwell, but it just got kind of dramatically worse within sort of 12 hours. Something, either a scratch or an insect bite, caused septicemia, which led to me being sort of hospitalised for about 3.5 weeks. That led to me having sort of a very long recuperation period where I had to stay at my parents', had to rely on them, and wouldn't have been able to support myself if they weren't there, let's put it that way. Up until about a month before the incident happened, I'd owned a house and I was just sort of selling it, and at that point I had protection to cover me for if I was unable to pay my mortgage, etc. When I sold the house, I just didn't think about taking out anything for me. Like a lot of people, I'd probably just assumed that, up to a certain point, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, I'd probably be covered. I suppose I'd never had to think about it, so it just hadn't been on my radar, to be honest. And when I found out I wasn't covered in the same way, and that, actually, you're actually only entitled to sort of, statutory sick pay in a lot of instances, and in mine, it was quite a harsh reality, because it was suddenly like, actually, that doesn't even cover my rent. I think it's just been a massive wake-up call that, anything can happen to anyone, and it's not necessarily a long drawn-out illness, but this literally happened overnight, and, it could have been anybody.
It's the average two-income family with children that is most likely to suffer if one wage earner is affected by long-term illness. For this group, falling back on benefits will have a big impact on their quality of life. The government's white paper on universal credit is likely to mean fewer benefits for fewer people, so this is only likely to get worse. With the current limited government safety net, the Demos report recommends that employers offer their staff income protection as standard.
At its core, income protection replaces your income if you're ill or injured and unable to work for an extended period of time. It can pay up to 80% of your income, and it will continue to pay for as long as you're disabled, right up until retirement. Income protection is an important protection for people. People are 3 times more likely to be disabled and miss work for an extended period of time during their working career than they are to die. Yet most people in the UK own life insurance. Very few own income protection. Only 1 in 10 workers in the UK have an income protection policy. The other 9 out of 10 have no backup plan. They tend to fall on the state when they become disabled, and what they find is the state benefits are inadequate to support their lifestyle.
But in these times where budgets are stretched for everyone, is income protection affordable?
The typical cost of income protection from an employer's point of view is quite cost effective. You'd see, if you looked at salary around £40,000 and you wanted to insure roughly about 60% of that after a 6-month window of absence, the annualised cost would be roughly about £200, so it's not that expensive.
Some people simply don't believe that ill health or disability will affect them. Yet this report shows that the 1 million people who are sick or disabled each year, half are still unable to work a year later. Without adequate government financial support, a significant number of people are risking having to live on dramatically reduced incomes should they get afflicted with long-term sickness.